This is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley.
Yep. Gotta educate. I'm gonna educate.
Okay.
On the age rules today.
On the descriptions?
Yeah, on the descriptions. it's just a fundamental way that I think everybody should handle things. Hello. Oh, we're recording now. We're recording. Welcome to the Grow Business Podcast. We were just talking a little bit about age, how you reveal an age.
Oh, okay.
So, I say that if it's below 5, it's kind of like the roundup factor. If it's below 5, you give the number, right? So you're 42, you're 52, you're 62, you get a number. Once you hit over the 5, you get the privilege to just put an apostrophe in it. So if you're 66, I'm in my 60s, right? You don't need to know all my business, right?
Exactly.
I'm in my 40s. So if you hear me start talking about being in my 40s, that will tell you I'm on the other side of 45 at that particular point, okay? But
that means you don't need to know how deep I am into my 40s.
Yeah, you don't. The rest of that's irrelevant. So that's the key. Welcome to another edition of the Grow Business Podcast. Before I intro everybody, I was being shamed earlier, so I'm wearing a coat right now for those of you who aren't who are listening to us. Spotify, Google Play, iHeart, Amazon Music, Radio Republic, which I think is shutting down. If not, sorry about that, but I think so. But that are streaming us and listening, they can't see, but I was shamed earlier. Lon shamed me for not having a coat on. And he just looked at me and said, Are you going in that? No, you're not. You're kidding. So now I have a sport coat on, courtesy of Lon Graham. But I'm Cory Mosley. If you're just joining us, I am here. Yes.
There you go.
I have taken back my air horn. But I think there's also supposed to be, isn't there supposed to be something for the show itself? They say Grow Business Podcast. Isn't that supposed to have something? No, we're going to work on that. So that's me. I'm joined by, this guy here. He's the man, the myth, the legend, LG007. Lon Graham's here.
Voice of reason.
Yes, you got to wait for that first, and then you tell us good to be here. And of course, the person who sometimes hits the buttons on the right time and the wrong time and makes it up as he goes along. Willie H is on the show. Willie H is here in the background.
Hit the buttons, William.
That's right. One more time so they know.
Hit the buttons, William.
That's right. That's what we want him to do. We're getting good at this, I think.
We're getting there.
We're getting good
Absolutely.
at this. So listen, we want to thank you for joining us for another show. We know there's a lot of people pulling on the attention, a lot of people on social media, a lot of podcasts that you could be listening to here. So we appreciate you being here with us as always. Back for another adventure. I'm super excited today because we had this happen before, kind of, sort of. We had a good one, but many times, we'll come up with the topics, and then there'll be a reveal that LG007 doesn't know. But LG hit me in the inbox and said, "Hey, I have something that just went down," because that's our authentic model here.
Right.
Is we have I think the unique, because I'm big on USPs, right? Unique selling proposition.
Right.
So I think one of the unique things about this podcast and what we do is we are talking about topics that are happening in quasi real time, right? So something might have happened last Friday and we're talking about it this week, right? So, we don't record our podcast 6 months in advance and stuff. So so one of our unique selling propositions or reasons I think to engage is that we're literally tackling the same things. We're not retired, now wax. And I'm not saying there's any problem with any of this. There's a lot of great people who have retired and now they're educating, but we're going to, before we came in the studio right now, we were on sales calls, or Lon was out in the field, or we were on talking about a client or something. And then once we're done with the podcast, we're going to go back to all of that. So he hit me and said, "Hey, I got a good idea for an episode. And what do you think?" And I said, "I think I love it. And I'm just going to stay quiet for 40 minutes and I'm going to sip my tea. I'm going to listen to the tea and sip my tea literally right now." So LG, tell us what we're talking about today.
Well, we're talking about marketing and promoting your business and your success.
Specifically, right. So marketing is the pillar that we're talking about, but the uniqueness of this here is about marketing the success of your business.
Right, exactly. And how do you promote that? How do you promote your success to introduce yourself to potential new clients?
And what I think is interesting here is a lot of people don't.
Right.
A lot of people do a lot of people, and I'm guilty of, and I'm also, that almost went the other way there with my tea. I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes people force themselves to be humble, right, so they don't come off as arrogant, right. I'm very hyper aware of that, and I don't know, and I'm going to tell you why. This is good. This is like the therapy podcast. Right. I get to have therapy because these are things that people I don't talk about. We don't know, right. I will say, and I haven't heard, thank God, I haven't heard this for probably 15 or 20 years. Right. But people I've had people tell me that they felt that I talked down to them or had a condescending nature. Okay. And I used to hear that early on, and never my intent. Right. Or at least a perception of arrogance. Right. And you've known me for several years. Willie H is I've known for more than half my life. Have you ever perceived that? No. You could be honest. Right. You're not, I know your contract's at will, but you.
Well, I think your energy sometimes can be perceived.
Interesting. It's a nice way. Law's always got some nice way to.
And I don't even know as an elevated status. Maybe I don't know if that's the right way to say it. But I can see how your energy could be perceived that way. But I haven't ever seen you with intent, to be demeaning or to talk down to somebody.
Yeah. So I heard that a few times early on in my career, and I think that put me in a hyper awareness to it. Maybe over humble. Right. Literally, my wife's like, "You need to talk about this, or you need to talk about that," or. Right. If I look at my body of work collectively, it's very interesting. And I don't look at it that way. And I think we've talked about this before. Sometimes also things that come easy to you. Right. It's not, if somebody called me right now and said, "Hey, Cory, we got 5,000 people down the street and we need somebody to come talk to them. Can you come help? Can you help us?" Right. I'm not going to, no, I need 6 weeks and I don't know. Like, wind me up, dude. Wind me up. Yeah, wind me up and, I need to know what the fee's going to be. But hold on. Exactly. But other than that, he is able, right? So exactly I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to worry or lament about that. So that would be a big deal to somebody else, easy to me. So I think we have to also a tendency to diminish mentally, at least even, diminish our accolades or diminish our work. Because maybe it's not super, hard. And I think that just plays into how people, whereas I've got good friends who have no problem telling you what they got, who they are, how successful they are, whatever, So, and my hat's off to them, but they have no problem telling you. Right. We've created $5 billion worth of revenue for our clients. They've got no problem with that. Where I'm like, but I've got to do better. Like, we're all in a journey, man. We're all in a journey. So when I look at my client roster, we have helped clients make tremendous gains in revenue and business, but we don't talk about it the same way. So I'm as much of a student of this conversation right now too, as a host. Right. So tell me, set the table. What fueled this? Why are we talking about this today? What made you reach out and say, "Hey, let's touch base on this"? Well,
I'll start by saying that, I do the same thing, right? I tend to diminish the things that I've done, or not diminish them, but take for granted what I've done.
Or discount them, like, I'm not special, but we are special. Right. Well, everybody, has something.
We all have our own. Yeah. Some people call it a superpower. We all have
some are more special than others. Right. And I'm going to say that I'm going to let you get back to this, but this is just how this show goes, and only because I'm thinking about it. So. I haven't. This is a good time to announce. So, third book's coming.
Congratulations.
Position for Growth. Thank you. Yeah. Position for Growth will be here. Oh, it's supposed to be something. Position for Growth. Okay. You got to be fast, William. You got to be fast, Willie H. Thank you for that. So, third book's coming, and I really wanna make it something special to be here this summer. We've got some keynotes and some things lined up, but I'm studying. Right, structure. This is my third book, but there's always something to learn. Right. So I'm reading I'm reading someone's advice or their basically discussion about structuring successful business books.
Okay.
And kind of the commonalities of some of the most successful business books.
Right.
So one of the things he talks about is where he says directly, fear or greed are the two predominant modes that keep interest, right?
Okay.
Someone's whether afraid they're going to miss it, particularly from a nonfiction business book, right? We don't have the luxury of talking about dragons and some of the fiction stuff that my wife reads. So within that, it's really fear or greed. People wanting to do better, do more, and missing out if they don't, or people in fear that they could lose, right? As a premise to continuation. With exception, he says, with exception to like a Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
So who can kind of do whatever he wants and still be successful, right? He can be introspective. He can be funny. And his point was, you're not Malcolm Gladwell. Like just direct down the line, right? So that's probably not going to be you. The chances of you being him. So you should stick to fear or greed, right? Okay. Don't go. I'm going to go my own way or whatever because Malcolm Gladwell does X, Y, Z. Right. You're not Malcolm Gladwell. He's probably one of the most prolific writers of our time, and you're not him,
right?
So I think in that realm of telling people they're special and they have greatness and all those things, it's great. Context,
right,
is important.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Tell us what happened.
Well, so I talked about too, I struggle sometimes to promote my success. Yeah. And part of that, you talked about where yours came from. Part of that came from, I grew up in a military family. Mm. And so, it's teamwork and you don't stand out, you work together. Nope. And
it's not about who takes the credit, all that stuff.
Right, exactly. Don't be a hot dog. Quote my dad, unquote. And I earned it. But those are the things that we learn, right?
Right.
Well, I was in an office earlier. I was in an office a couple weeks ago, and this office that I was in, they were promoting. They had a plaque up that said, it was a doctor's office, and they had a plaque up and it said "Top Doctor 2024," which is the most recent year, most recently recognized. Right. Yes, you absolutely want to promote that you've been recognized as being one of the best in your area. Yeah, for sure. Next to that plaque was another Top Doctor plaque from 2020.
Right.
So my question is,
so you fell off.
Did you fall off a cliff for 3 years or 4 years?
Started jacking people up and
right, exactly. Or did you take some time off?
Said, this is not good for me to do. I got to regain my status here. I got to get good again.
Well, and so the reality of it is I would have never asked that question if there wouldn't have been a space between, if there wouldn't have been that much space between the two plaques.
Right.
So the question then becomes, when you are promoting yourself, when you do take the opportunity to do that, are you having the effect that you want it to have?
Yeah.
And so if there's so much space between the last time you were recognized and this time, maybe you just put up the most recent recognition,
right,
so that people know that you are recently recognized and you're doing great work right now. Yeah. And so that's what really inspired this. Inspired a conversation about, one, are you promoting your success as a business or as an entrepreneur? And two, if you are you the way you're promoting it having the effect or having the desired impression that you want people to have, right, or are you creating doubt in other ways?
So what do you think are what do you think are the elements there though to that? So yes, we want to promote more. The other thing that I find interesting in this conversation is how the ability to craft a message that might not sound sexy on the surface,
right,
but gets the point across. And let me give you an example. So a client that we're working with right now, that's a moving company.
Okay.
So we're in this process of taking them through our, positioning for growth process. Okay. And part of the conversation is they've been in business for 34 years.
Okay.
Right. So you go, I've been in business 34 years. That can be flat.
Correct.
Right. So what we changed that to is we've completed over 25,000 moves.
Perfect. Yeah.
So that promotion of the point,
right,
gets the point across that we've been around a long time,
right,
But when people go, oh, you've been in business 30 years, it falls flat because it's not necessarily, it doesn't exactly solve the problem. There are people that have been in business 30 years that are terrible.
Right.
Right? There are lawyers that have been in practice for 30 years that are horrible.
Right.
That when they come into court, the judge is like, oh, Lord, they're still letting you practice. Right? Longevity doesn't necessarily deliver the message of quality or experience.
Right.
But when we take that, okay, great. So in those 34 years, what does that equate to into successful moves for a moving company? Oh, well, that's probably about 25,000 if we go in our database.
Right.
There's the power.
Right.
So we've completed 25. So now from a promotional end, right, we want to promote that.
Right.
Now as a talking point, right? If that owner's at a networking event, if he's in front of his ideal audience, if he's communicating to his ideal audience, now what an interesting opportunity to show we've been in business a long time, to show we know what we're doing, because when you look at that number, who am I going to trust? Somebody that's completed. Because now when I ask that question of a competitor, oh, how many moves you have? And they've started their company 3 years ago. Right. They're not even going to be able to touch 25,000.
Right. That becomes a clear distinguishing characteristic for sure.
Yeah. So that's what an example, again, real time, because we just did this exercise with the client a week ago.
Right.
So from your end now, let's talk about that. What do you see as, because what I heard in this example is leading with keeping what's fresh at the forefront.
Correct.
Because if not, had that been 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, now you got 4 years running.
Right.
But that gap does make people think differently. And what I think a lot of people miss is you don't get the opportunity to explain once someone's made their decision. You lose that opportunity. So someone looks at that on the wall, and we could, it could be trivial, right? Oh, Cory, is that really a big deal? Well, if it's someone that is trying to make a determination of confidence and competence, right? Because what you're describing, when we came to Richmond, when I came back to Richmond 10 years ago, when I went looking for a dentist, I started with top dentists, award-winning dentist. Like that was my search.
That was your suit.
That's how I ended up with Dr. Rusnak of River Run Dental, the greatest dental practice I've ever seen in terms of how it runs. I'm not just talking about cleaning my teeth. I'm just, the way he runs the practice is still to this day astonishing to me. And he picks up lunch when I run into him in a restaurant. So shout out to Dr. Rusnak at River Run Dental. Right. But that's exactly how so I love this example here because this is how people have selection.
So we'll go back to the movers example because when you changed the message, you're saying the same thing, but one instills confidence and one doesn't. Right. And what people buy, especially new buyers, is confidence. And the way that you gain confidence is to demonstrate competence. And the way you demonstrate competence is consistency. Right. So that's why that gap mattered. If we go back to the doctor's office, why the gap between 2020 and 2024 mattered is because it creates a question of, is this doctor or physician consistently performing at a high level? Right. And so if you create space, that means that you wonder if the consistency is there. So the way I found my dentist, and who is also amazing, and I'm going to shout out to Andy Norman because he's been here before. We did our open house in the very beginning, and their practice is amazing too. And what they do is they demonstrate competence and confidence all the way through the process, like you, from the time you check in. Well, you're already checked in. If they, all the things that they do. So people buy confidence, whether it's from confidence that you display in marketing and messaging, or from a referral. And a referral is deferred confidence as well, because somebody says, well, I had a great experience. And if I believe in you as the person who gave me the referral, then that confidence is transferable. So the whole point of this messaging and promoting is this, two things. The first thing that we talked about is, are you promoting what you're doing well so that people know that you're doing it? And the second one is, are you instilling confidence in the people that you're trying to reach by the way that you're promoting your success?
Voice of reason.
I knew Willie H was going to hit that, so that's why I let it ride.
Yeah.
What you're describing, and I'm going to finish this for you.
Okay.
What you're describing is the 4 C's.
Okay.
Confidence, competence, clarity,
Yes.
and congruence is the C.
Yep.
When you said it goes together.
Right.
So we just boiled it down. I've boiled it down into 4 C's,
Right.
is how we talk about it. But it's congruence, right?
Yeah.
That messaging starting from the beginning and now, flowing through the whole process.
Right.
Yeah.
And that we didn't plan.
No, we didn't. No. Well, thankfully, I've talked about the 4 C's before, so thankfully, I know my material. That's always helpful. So I think here, the other thing that you're saying, basically, to boil it down to is, right? What have you done?
Right.
And who knows about it?
Right. What have you done well?
Right. Well, what have you done well? Yeah. What have you done well? And who knows about it?
Right.
Because that becomes the key. Now, that also becomes a responsibility
Yes.
that you have. So what people perceive as pushiness, this happens in the referral world, where you alluded to. This happens in the review world,
Right.
in terms of getting reviews.
Right.
And this also happens when people don't want to talk about themselves
Right.
or talk about some of the things that they've done or their business has accomplished.
Right.
Right. Or they will publicize one thing but not the other, right? Oh, Inc. 5000. So they'll put that out there for their company, but they might not talk about their individual accolade,
Right.
or something that they've done. Now, there are businesses that are built on that premise, right? I mean, the Inc. 5000, that's a whole revenue model, right? To be an Inc. 5000 person.
Right.
Forbes has capitalized on this with these councils that they have.
Right.
You can join. I was invited to join the Coaches Council several years ago. For a small investment of $1,500 or something, and I'm not knocking it.
Right.
I'm just making the point that these also become business models, so you can have that. I mean, we do it with the network,
Right.
Right? We want you as featured on our media network,
Right.
But to do it and then not talk about it.
Right.
It's like we have clients, particularly on the network side, who've come on the network, that we've produced what we believe is this beautiful piece of content, and they believe it because we have 5-star reviews on that work that we do.
Right.
They believe it, but then they don't show it.
Right.
They don't go as featured on. I understand it's not the Today Show,
Right.
but you're in media. You're on display. Your expertise is being interviewed. Now you've got to take action on that.
Right.
It just can't just be stuff sitting out there.
Right.
Got to talk about it.
Well, and let's go back to the very basis of this whole podcast is we're talking about all these things because we want people to have access to ways to grow their business.
Yeah.
And the way you grow your business is to get new clients and to get new customers. And so the way you get new clients and new customers is you have to promote to them what you do.
Right. So LinkedIn, like everything's big on LinkedIn.
Right.
Or this big conversation. People have built businesses, based
Correct.
on the premise of LinkedIn.
Right.
What I think is so hilarious is the amount of people that will work on their LinkedIn profile or will tell you how great they are in a networking event, and they've got one recommendation. They've got 3 recommendations.
Right.
That's what I find so interesting.
Okay.
I've worked on my picture. I've got my headshots done. I've got my, pithy, I help people, lottie-dottie, right? I'm not knocking. I mean, I have the same thing. We help people get positioned for growth. So, I mean, we use it, but they've got all that. That's pithy.
Right.
They've potentially even paid somebody to write their, to write their bio column paragraph deal. And then I scroll down and I go recommendations. 1, somebody they work with. Gail was great.
Gail.
No one better than Michael. Like there's nothing extensive there.
Right.
There's nothing reflective there. Now I say that with confidence because I know I have dozens and dozens of recommendations over my career.
Right.
Now, could I have more? Sure. But the modalities do change also about where you find customers. Right. So if you're in a services business, maybe you want to acquire more through Google or Trustpilot if you're doing things at scale. But from a professional standpoint, particularly if you're in consulting or coaching or something where someone is making a conscious effort or conscious decision to invest in you
Right.
Yeah, your service. Yeah. But like if you remove you from the equation,
right.
I remember years ago, we were doing training and I had worked with a client, worked to sign up a client, moving through the process. He had seen me, speak at an event and everything. And there was just something with the scheduling. Like we were going to kick off. This was in store. Like we were flying there. And something with the scheduling, I sent my number 2 guy down there.
Okay.
Boy, and who was great. Who knew what he was doing? It's not me. I mean, because if he was me, he wouldn't be him, right?
Right.
But more than competent and experienced to do the work. Do you know that client called me and he's like, "Listen, like what's this guy doing here?"
Right.
I'm like, "Well, it was a schedule. I mean, I'll be there the next time, but this guy knows the material cold. And he's been with me years. He knows, we hired you."
Okay.
Right. So I mean, I had to take that, from that perspective. So if that's how you positioned yourself, there's gifts and curses that go along with that, right? But in that situation, that's when you want to have, something like your LinkedIn beefed up. Right. Because when people, I just speaking from experience, this also about like references. I want to hit you from all angles. Right. Here's what we can go old school, call Mary, call Joe, call Mike, right? We can do that. But here, I want you to see what people say about us on Google. Now, you know what? Head over to LinkedIn. I want to hit you in all these. Here's some videos. Here's video testimonials. Here's Google reviews. Here's LinkedIn recommendations. Here's some one-on-one people. I want to overwhelm you with that so it becomes very clear that we're the obvious choice to do business with. Right. What do you think? Unpack. I'm going to sit back now. Unpack all of that.
Well, the big wrapping paper that we put on all of that is all of those things demonstrate competence, which gives the potential buyer confidence. And you are trying to instill in new customers and new clients and new potential clients, you are trying to instill confidence by reducing the risk of their buying decision. And that's what confidence does. It reduces the risk of their buying decision. So the more you can prove that you can do what you say you do, and that you can do it well, the more likely they are to buy from you because you've reduced their risk. Right. And that's what this is all about. And people will pay more for less risk. Yes. And that's 100%. And so, go back to your example where you had a scheduling conflict and you had to send, the number 2 person. Well, there are businesses and business models built on paying more for the number 1 person or for the number 2 person. Sure. You can choose where you want to invest make your investments financially on who you're actually working with in that business.
Well, do this in the speaking world, right? You want a $5,000 speaker? There's a list of people who are $5,000 speakers. You want a $10,000 speaker? There's people in the speaking world that won't even touch you. People hiring speakers that won't even touch you if your number's too low. Right. Because they make the association. Not that, maybe you're an up-and-comer, not that you're, trying to be, you're trying to book more business, so maybe you're not doing as high as fee as you want. You don't get the opportunity sometimes in that world to even have that conversation. Right. So they go, show me, I only want to look at speakers 10,000 or more. Right. And trust me when I tell you, there's some guys getting $10,000 who should be getting $2,500. Right. But again, positioning, plays a role in all that, right? But that's the other reason, right? Build your authority, right? From a fee standpoint, from that kind of space, which makes you, command more. Absolutely, and it's they're also buying your confidence in yourself. Sure. So when you talk about the meeting planner or the person who's hiring the speaker or the committee that's hiring the speaker, they're looking at somebody that's willing to promote them, that has enough confidence in themselves to position themselves in that space. And the other thing, I think, don't make it hard for them to want to do business with you. Right. Don't, and that's why I said that example in the proposal we did recently. Like, we put it all in here. Go here for this, go here for that. You want to see some videos? You want to hear some recommendations? You want to see some Google reviews? You want to talk to some people? Right. Don't make them just go looking. Don't make them go on this journey of themselves. Because a lot of people don't want to. So that's the other reason why what you're saying is so important. You have to have an element of self-promotion to you. Right. And I got to know about it fast.
Right.
I don't want you to have to dig around.
Right.
Right. Let me just tell you already. Right. You know, or get it out there at the forefront of that. So when you say 25,000 moves, that's going to be one of the first things you see.
Right.
When you're deciding to do business. I'm not going to make you, it's not buried in some text, some 2 paragraphs of text.
Right.
You know, we're your solution and the best option for la-di-da-di, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
Right? And we've had 25,000 moves. You've buried the lead, dude.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's you're getting across. You're saying the same thing in a different way, and you're having a different impact on what you're saying.
Yeah.
So by saying 25,000 moves, that means we know what we're doing.
Right.
And we do it a lot. Because if you start doing the math, let's just say 25,000 moves in 25 years, that's 1,000 moves a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of moves.
Right.
That means you figured something out.
Right. Sure.
You know what you should know what you're doing at that point.
And I can say that's a great example of making my point in just a little blip.
Right.
I didn't have to tell you all those things.
Right.
Right. But I got to use it. So if I'm recognized, if you're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, if you've won this award or been recognized, make it easy for me to find it and talk about it. It can't just be an accolade for yourself.
Right.
And here's what's important here. Everything that we're talking about from this aspect is conscious, meaning you have to make this, it's not natural for people.
Correct.
By and large, to talk about themselves or talk about their business or talk about their act. So this is a conscious decision. This has to be a strategy that is part of your business that you are implementing with intention. Shout out to Dominique Simpson, Milton Post of intentionality. Was there something there? Oh, Willie, you got something for me? When the church say amen.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. Because that's the key.
Right.
And we talk about this every week, and I beat the drum on that. It is not about the sophisticated. This is not a show where we want to focus on sophisticated, intricate minutia of the details.
Right.
I want to take a concept that you should have some foundation of as a business owner already, but get you to pay more attention to it, get you to put intention to it, and make it part of your strategy.
Right.
And this is one of those things.
100%. And clear is always better than clever.
I don't want to go to an about page and then get 20 steps down it to learn that you were a business owner of the year or exterminator of the year because you've got it buried somewhere, right?
Right.
I need to know that fact if it's valuable.
Right.
That's the key. You got to be honest with yourself too, right? Family owned and operated, not really valuable.
Well,
people don't like when I say that. Well, it's valuable to them internally, but not to society.
Right. That's the messaging when you're interviewing people to work with you.
You and I have had the restaurant conversation before, right?
Yes, we have.
When I travel, I'm hesitant to go to mom and pop restaurants,
right?
Because it's just not the same guidelines.
Right.
Joe's Steakhouse is not the same guidelines as Morton's.
Correct.
Or a chain. Oh, Cory, chain. You need to get some local flavor. I'm good.
Right. Well, and here's the thing too, right?
I'm good.
Ease of access. If you go to another town, and we'll shout out to Morton's, because you know what you're walking into.
Correct.
And you don't have to ask for a recommendation to go to Morton's.
Right.
If you go, and most of the time when you're traveling for business, especially if you're speaking or if you're doing some coaching, you're not really interested in asking for recommendations. You just want to go somewhere where you can decompress, have a drink, have a steak, have some, whatever you want, and take a deep breath and know that whatever you're going to get you know exactly what you're going to get.
Right. I know. And why waste good hunger? Why waste good hunger on an experiment?
Right.
Because I've done that. I've gone to the, they were on TV. You got to go to this place. All right.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of TV, there's a lot of, there's a lot of airspace that needs to be filled. So not everybody who goes on TV, you got to go to that restaurant. Did you check that restaurant out I'm not going to say the name, but did you check that? I was in Nashville. Oh, did you check that restaurant out? All right, let me go check it out.
Right.
I could have, gone to somewhere else.
Somewhere,
Yeah.
Right.
So it wasn't worth the expense. It wasn't worth it. Me. I wasn't really satisfied.
Right.
It didn't live up to the hype, and I'm disappointed. So I mean, rule there is, folks, follow your own North Star.
Right.
Of course, peer pressure is terrible. I'm a victim of peer pressure today. LG 007. But what are you gonna say?
It all comes back to people buy confidence.
Yeah.
And you will pay more if you know what you're going to get.
So we want it on social media.
Right.
We want it in your content.
Yes.
Depending on the size of your business, don't be afraid. Spend a few dollars. Let's get a press release out there. We want to get that. Look at some of the PR angles that you have to talk about these things. Use media. Earn media. Paid media.
Right.
Right? That's what we are paid. We offer paid media opportunity to get your message curated for you, not someone else's, to give you the full time to do that. Right. So use PR, and then also use your customers.
Yes.
I always I like to slip those. We like to slip those tangibles in, right?
Well, we do.
So that hard takeaway, right? How we lose in social media, put it in our content. Look at PR as a factor here. Use your customers in the advertising or the messaging as well, and then look at partnerships. Look at that networking,
right? And then the last thing that I'll say too, and this depends on the size of your business, because not all businesses have employees, but can your employees clearly articulate what you do well too? Yeah. Because they talk to their friends, they talk to people in their community. When they go to a social dinner, they're still getting asked the question, "Oh, Gail, what do you do?"
Yeah.
Well,
Gail, I like when people adopt. You heard me when something sticks. That's my official statement for everybody. Every woman I talk about as an example is named Gail.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but can the people on your team, can the people that work in your organization clearly communicate that as well? Yep. It's not just you as the leader. It's not just you as the owner.
And the accolades and the things that are happening.
That's my point. Can they clearly promote your business and what you're doing?
Does that admin or that receptionist at that doctor's office, does she tell people when she's out and about, or if she's in any networking opportunity, that she works for, the practice that she works for was voted best doctors of 2024.
We were recognized as the top doctor of 2024.
Does she talk about that as pride, or does she just view herself as the front desk admin? As
the gatekeeper, one of the conversations we've had in the past.
Yeah, correct. So that does become an important factor there. 100%. I mean, no question. Yeah. 100%. I like that. What else? What else do we want to talk about before we leave people on this topic here?
I think the two most important things are: make sure that your messaging is consistent and instills confidence. Make sure that what you're sharing has a desired effect on people. And also make sure, and you said this, and I'll restate it, make sure that you are being intentional about promoting your success.
And get out of your own head.
Yes.
I was having this conversation with a speaker that we interviewed recently, and her book had been featured on Times Square.
Oh, fantastic!
In one of the jumbotrons, right? So we were having that conversation, and then we kind of got to talking, and you paid to do that, and then that kind of but it's like, who cares?
Right?
Like, does that mean it wasn't there?
Right.
Why does that diminish? Why do you get to diminish, or somebody from the outside who maybe couldn't afford to pay? Or guess what? They don't even have a book.
Right.
That could have been put up there.
Right. Exactly.
So who cares if you're investing in your media? And I've had this conversation. We've had this conversation with people. Who cares?
Right.
I have to pay. It's a paid. Who cares?
Right.
No one cares.
Right.
I understand you'd like it to be free, so you don't have to. So you don't have to make an investment.
Right. Exactly.
In your business. Buckaroo. Yeah. So you don't have to make an investment in your business. I understand why you might want it to be free, but no one cares. It's media.
Right. And nobody says, "Hey, I wonder how they got that up there."
Right. Or if they pay for that.
Right.
Because, and here's the kicker: the people who are saying that are not even the buyer.
Correct. Right.
They're not even the people that person is targeting or talking about.
Right. Lord have mercy.
He finds a way to get them all.
Absolutely.
So it's like, who cares if you did something? Feel free to talk about it, and you have to you don't diminish.
Right.
Don't diminish the value. When we were in that little thing called the pandemic that lasts,
right.
I chose to do what a lot of people did, which was to get some more education and go do some other things. So I went through a program at Wharton.
Okay.
On scaling and really getting the academic side of things, from being a scrappy entrepreneur for all these years and not having the formal education, but just adding that professional education there.
Right.
And I didn't immediately even talk about it. I'm like, okay, I mean, I didn't go to Wharton, like, you know what I mean? I didn't go to 4 years. I don't have an MBA, but like that program was not easy.
Right.
I mean, that was a real program that you had to go through and submit stuff. And I mean, you had to go through a process. They didn't just because it was online or because it was executive education. It's still Wharton. So it wasn't like just show up and here's your certificate.
Right.
There were things we had to do and deadlines, and stuff was graded and stuff was looked at. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I love about these conversations. And this is how I know this has the potential to be so valuable to people, because a lot of people are dealing with that. So even me saying it, I had to go, now it's in my bio. Now I talk about it because I did learn something. I have been able to use that information to better educate our clients, to just better educate people who come into my ecosystem altogether. But why? I don't even know. We'll have to, get a psychologist involved, a shrink of some sort, to say why we have trouble stepping into, the value proposition of that.
Yeah, and I think some of it is, comparison. Some of it is we look at ourselves compared to other people, and so
you didn't go to Harvard. You took a class.
Well,
okay, I didn't. All right.
Right,
I'm not wearing. I didn't order a Wharton T-shirt.
Right.
I mean, I'm not walking around in this. I didn't pledge.
But here's the point in that. The credibility. Shout out to Wharton for sure.
School of Executive Education. Let me just be clear. Sorry, not the real one.
But here's
see how easy it is to
backpedal.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. Yeah.
Speaking of backpedaling and needing eyes in the back of your head, that's a whole nother story. It still has to be validated by that program.
Yes.
Like they're not just putting out junk. Correct. And they're not giving you a certificate that says,
and it wasn't
you showed up.
There was no pandemic prices.
Right. Exactly. So
there was a full retail. There was a growing economy price in a pandemic. But go ahead.
Surge pricing.
Yeah. Surge pricing. Yeah.
The point of it is that whether you paid to get on a billboard in Times Square or not, somebody had to approve it.
Yeah.
And even if you spent money, they're not taking everybody's money to do that.
Correct.
You had to write a book to be able to pay to get your book on the screen, to go to get executive education at Wharton. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that don't have any education.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that do have education that don't have executive education at Wharton.
Right.
The point is that we tend to diminish it in comparison to what we're looking ahead at, not what's in our rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Like, well, I didn't go to Wharton for 4 years. I go to Harvard for 4 years. I just went for this executive certificate program. That was a year.
Right.
So it's a year more than most people.
Now, and here's what's interesting.
Right.
So where I will say, like, I do make it a point, because I'm not trying to fake the funk.
Right.
If in my bio it will say Wharton School of Executive Education.
Perfect.
What people who fake the funk will do is they'll say Wharton.
Right.
And they'll leave it out and then and then sell the idea that you went to the MBA program or you did this and the other. Right. So I don't like being disingenuous, but there's tremendous value in what I learned.
Correct.
And tremendous value of going through that program and successfully going through that program that does need to be talked about. So the moral here is, you need to be talking about the positive things that you're doing, the good things you're doing, and the accolades and how you're being recognized and all of those factors, and doing it in a genuine way, consciously. And
you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it to get better.
Yes.
So
and to help clients.
And to get better at helping clients.
Correct. 100%.
Right. So tell people what you're doing to get better to help them.
Right.
That's the gist of what we're saying right there is, when you do things well and you get recognized for them, or when you do things to get better so that you can get better at what you do,
right?
Promote it. Tell people that you did it so they can have confidence in their experience in working with you before they start to work with you.
Yeah. I like it. I think we're going to leave it there. But our challenge is, after you listen to this, I want you to make a list. What are some of the things that you or your company, your business have done that are worth talking about?
Right.
Write that list down. And then get with your team, get with your people. If you're a team of one, get with yourself.
Right.
To yourself, for yourself, by yourself. Get with yourself and say, okay, great. Here's what I've done. How have I talked about this before? Right. If I haven't, how am I going to do that? Right. Am I going to, what's the target, right? Am I going to integrate this into my talking points, into my elevator pitch? Am I going to put out my own press release, right? I'm going to have ChatGPT write a press release for me that I can just post on my social media channels. Right. What am I going to do about it?
Right.
Get that list down. Maybe it's 2 things. Maybe it's 20. Maybe it's 200. Take action, get that list down, and then decide what you're going to do about it so more people know.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it's malpractice, to use a doctor's term. It's malpractice for you to be helping your clients with your product or your service, or your company helping make a difference or whatever, advancing someone's condition, improving their condition, improving their life, improving their business. It's malpractice for you to be doing that, having success doing it, and not talking about it.
Right.
Woo! When the church say amen. Perfect opportunity to wrap up today's show at a perfect drop point. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. We want to say, as always, thank you for your viewership, listenership. If you're streaming this on YouTube or you're listening to this on Spotify or across all of our channels, we appreciate you. We're thankful for you. Thank you for coming back week after week. Thank you for sharing this. If there are colleagues, business owners, people that need to hear this message, even if it's just a clip of what we're talking about or a particular episode, we encourage you to share them. And we thank you for the 5-star reviews. We thank you for continuing to come back and for helping us continue to invest time and energy into spreading the word and helping you grow your business one business at a time. Lon?
Thanks for staying, and thanks for coming back next time.
You got to make it rhyme. Thanks for staying and thanks for playing.
There you go. There you go.
This has been the Grow Business Podcast. I'm Cory Mosley. He's LG007 Lon Graham. And on behalf of Willie H as well, we are getting out of here. We will see you next week. Willie H, take us out.
We're in the 20s per episode.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, that's right. We're in the 20s. Oh, maybe you can say that number, like, because we're getting closer.
It was good, though. It was some of that is